Amazon's #1 best-selling book, Reclaiming My Life. Here's television and radio host, Claudia Massey.
Hello, beautiful people. How are you all doing out there? Look, y'all, we're also Facebook Live, so talk to me in the chat. Let me know how your weekend has been, how your weekend was. And look, we're going to pray for a great week ahead. I have an exciting segment for you all today on Reclaiming My Life. Look, on the line, I welcome fellow Black Girl Magic recipient, DMV Sports Media Person of the Year, award-winning journalist and professor. Look, y'all, the gorgeous, absolutely stunning Kelsey Nicole Nelson.
Hi, Claudia. It's so good to be with you. Thank you so much for having me. Delighted to join you on your program today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Look, I'm honored. I'm so honored that you're here. Look, y'all, I tell you, those of you who are joining us Facebook Live, y'all will see why my first words to this woman was, "You're gorgeous."
Oh, you are so sweet. Look, it takes one to know one.
All right now. Yes, ma'am. Yes. So look, Kelsey, look, we got a lot to talk about in such a short time, because when I say, look, she received the Black Girl Magic, she's also a Black girl who rocks now. She got a lot going on, a lot. Let me tell you, you have really done a lot in such a short time. So you are a professor, you are an award-winning journalist, you're sports media for some of the major media outlets like ESPN, Fox Sports, NASCAR, NBC Sports. Come on now. What inspired you to pursue the journey in sports media?
Well, first, Claudia, thank you again so much for having me. It was amazing meeting you. And this is what I love about just Black women, the power and empowerment that we form, right? And just seeing that we can win together. So again, I'm super excited to be on your program. But for me, sports was an early calling. I come from a Southern Black family, which means that sports and the Bible were the two things that you immediately knew, in the household. And so, for me, I always say I'm a daddy's girl, and shout out to my pops, Joe Nelson. But sports were kind of my first introduction. I immediately kind of just faltered to them. I was always tall. I was always competitive. My mom says I came out the womb competitive. And I've just always loved sports, like being in that kind of sanctuary place, right? The one place I always say that anybody, for any reason, with any differences, can come together, right? For the games and the thrill of the games. I'm a person I get the adrenaline rush, when I'm at games. And so for me, I just always love that. Mm-hmm. And so to have the power to storytell, it's something that brings people together. I'm thankful. So I'm grateful for my dad and his HBCU sports background, my family and their HBCU sports background. Grambling State and Jackson State were like the two first universities that I knew coming up. And if you know about the history and legacy of those universities, the strong sports culture, that breeds. And then I'm in the DMV, and Claudia, always say the DMV breeds ballers. Like if you grow up here, sports is going to be integrated into the fabric of everything you do in the culture. And so that's just, sports have been my norm. And now for me, it's been amazing to make a career off of it. And that career has honestly led to just different doors opening. As you said, a professor, I have my own businesses, all that kind of came through the lane of sports and just trying to, I just always try to make my own lane, on something that I love.
Wow. What amazing. Look, y'all, if I didn't mention y'all, she's also a speaker. If you look, you can hear it. So, we're going to go ahead and throw that in. Yes. So look, the professor, tell us about it. Kelsey, the professor.
Oh my gosh. I will say this is probably the most humbling title, that I have. What drives me is legacy. What's going to be here after Kelsey Nicole Nelson is long gone. And that for me is what I give back to the young people, right? For me, I say a village raised me. My parents worked a lot when I was young to provide, which meant I had a lot of caring, nurturing adults in my life. And, I'm always so grateful for the adults that had, just a piece of me, right? It played a part of my journey because they helped me to see the leadership in me, honestly, before I even saw it in myself. And so now to be in that, I don't take it lightly. Like people trust me with their children's education, right? I've talked to parents, right? I talked to administrators. I built the curriculum, for my course. And so I think for me, to have a university too, like George Washington University, a university I grew up, down the street from, to have a prestigious university, believe in me and trust in me, to start something new there, the sports media, the sports writing, writing and reporting course that I launched, it had never been done before there. So to launch something new, for them to see that sports media is growing and that there's a lane and an avenue for it and a thirst. And I have to shout out to my students who also were big advocates for this class to be there. I'm just so thankful. So, I'm blessed. And for me, those early mornings, I teach at 8 a.m.
Wow.
So you have to want to be there. But, every time I see those bright, smiling, shining faces, every time I'm talking to young people who want to lead the way, carry the baton and carry the torch, I know God has placed me there. And so now I've been a professor going on 5 years now, which is crazy to think about. I'm already excited about to start planning for the fall semester. So we just finished the inaugural first year of the sports writing and reporting course at GW. And I'm excited to continue that legacy on in year two. So yeah, I'm just grateful. Go Revs. And yeah, just that giving back portion. I think there's nothing like it. Everyone always says, what's next for me? And my students always, kind of enable that, the what's next. I want to see them achieve their dreams and support their dreams in whatever way that I can, because I want to make sure that the future of journalism, the future of media is in the right hands, that it's continuing to be ethical, accurate, truthful, and again, for the people, right? An audience builder. And so I'm just glad to just play a small part and a small role in the class that I have at GW. So I'm already excited for the fall, Claudia.
Woo, come on, Professor. Come on, Professor. Look, y'all, I don't know if y'all heard that key word. She launched, okay? She launched. Yes, I love it. And then the what's next. You're all about the youth, Yeah. I love that. Let me ask you this, because I know you covered the NBA playoffs. So what was that like, as a sports journalist? What is that like?
I mean, anytime you get to cover something that, you grew up watching, right? Who doesn't grow up, watching the NBA playoffs, right? In Game 7, right? In the series. And so for me, I'll take people back. This is when the Golden State Warriors were at their dominance, Cleveland Cavaliers, like just thrilling basketball. So to be able to fly, and I'm based in DC, but to be able to go to California, and cover such, a pivotal series, series that we still talk about to this day. Mm-hmm. I am grateful and thankful. I say I'm the 3 Bs. Booked, busy, and blessed. And that's really what I felt, covering, the NBA finals and the playoffs. And so, I think basketball was I played basketball. Like basketball to me is that universal sport, to see it at the highest level, to be able to be trusted to tell stories at the highest level. There's nothing like it. And that's what I always look back. That's why everyone's always like, why are you always smiling? Always happy? I am grateful. Like I get to do this, for a living. I get to wake up and do what I dreamt of. For me, the NBA playoffs is just a remembrance. When I was a child, I remember, the poem, what happens to a dream deferred. And Claudia, I never wanted to know what happens to a dream deferred. That's my biggest fear. That's my biggest fear. I don't know what happens to that dream deferred, because I don't ever want to defer my dreams. So the fact that I've worked to make my dreams a reality, covering that. I said when I was a kid, I wanted to cover the biggest games. I told that to my parents. And now that, I get to do that and people want to watch me and listen to me do that, again, I'm just honored for the opportunity and privilege. I'm excited to continue to build and grow on it. So that honestly just gave me motivation. Once you're covering that big game, you want to come back. Right. You want to do it again. And
come on.
It's a reminder, you're here for a reason.
Come on, Black Girl Magic. Yes. Show up and give it your all. That's right. So you can get it again. I love it. Right. Let me ask you, because I heard you say, people say you're always smiling, and the reason is because you're grateful. Yeah. Have you experienced any challenges along the way where you felt like, okay, this is really a stumbling block and I need to reclaim?
My gosh, all the time, adversity. And, I've had to learn this, because before, sometimes, when things happen to you, it's always kind of like, how are you going to respond to it? Right. And I think that's kind of how we're measured. People think your life is perfect because of social media, and it's not that way. The biggest thing I think I've had to learn as I've grown older is vulnerability. And that's hard. That was hard for me because my whole life I was taught to be a strong Black woman, right? And so for me, I learned that sometimes the smile hides the truth, meaning the smile hides the pain, it hides the anguish. People always think everything's perfect and everything's fine. And for me, I never wanted people going, what's wrong with Kelsey? What's wrong with you? Because for me, that showed weakness, right? And so for so long, I just learned, well, if you smile, everybody thinks everything is fine and nobody bothers you, right? They leave you alone.
Right.
But for me, I think as I've gotten older, though, I've learned to embrace Black girl joy. I'm a person that pushes Black girl joy, Black boy joy. But also with that joy to smile, you wake up, and I always say, every day you wake up is a blessing, but that doesn't mean that the blessing isn't going to come with chaos. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean the blessings are not going to come with rough waters. And so for me, my whole life, why I work so hard is because I've been an underdog my whole life. I faced adversity my whole life. I've worked for every everything I've ever gotten. So, I mean, for me, and I've been told no a lot, you know, what I preach to young people is every no I had to reverse it and turn to the word on and tell myself that God was putting me on to another opportunity. But you know, even to this day, Claudia, I keep a folder of all the no's I've ever gotten. And yes, I still get no's, you know, till this day. I'm told to this day I don't have enough experience, even though I've been on international and national broadcasts, you know. So yes, for me, the adversity, it's part of it, but I've also learned, you know, to embrace that challenge. But it honestly made me stronger, because what I thought was meant for me, it wasn't meant for me.
Yes.
On, you know, so yes, I still experience. Yes, I even get it here in my hometown. And you know, yes, you know, I've even gotten it from people I've known, but, you know, again, I'm still here, you know, I'm still standing. And I think that's the part of the story I want people to know. But yes, it's just part of it. I mean, I wish that life was perfect and things went, you know, according to plan, but that's not life. So for me, it's always been learning how to pivot. That's really been my word, learning how to pivot and navigate situations, because for me, failure is just not an option. So, you know, every adversity challenge has meant I've had to learn another way to, you know, get to the promised land of Kelsey Nicole Nelson's dreams.
Yes, I love that. Look, y'all, Professor is teaching us today. Come on now. Look, so books break borders. Tell us about it.
Oh my gosh. So this is a project, Books Breaking Borders, Books to End Educational Bankruptcy. I started it back when I was in college at the University of Maryland, you know, go Terps. And I was in this great public policy program called the Rawlings Undergraduate Leadership Fellows Program. And essentially, this was one of my favorite courses in college. What we did is we had a year to find a solution to a problem. So something that we saw happening just in the world, right? And I love that, because people always talk about the problems, but I don't think enough of us talk about the action steps to actually solve problems.
Yes.
And so for me, it was simple. It was education, you know, and I did that through my own journey. You know, luckily my parents were able to move from Mississippi to where I grew up in Maryland, just to make sure that I had access to a good quality school system. Not everybody's able to do that, right? And I know, unfortunately, a lot of times our zip codes dictate the education and quality education that we get.
Absolutely.
That way. And then even for me in my own journey, you know, I had to that's why I said I've been an underdog my whole life. I had to work hard. You know, I didn't have parents, you know, that were doctors and all this stuff. You know, my dad went to an HBCU and graduated, and you know, he was somebody in the family that was able to do that. My mom went to community college, and so, you know, I think for me it was just like trying to find my own self, you know, in that educational. And for me, I don't know if everybody knows this, but I got academic scholarships to school. And so I think for me, but it was through hard work, you know, right? Like it just, you know, I had this big brain. I was always curious for knowledge. So Books Breaking Borders came because I was volunteering through the America Reads America Counts program. It used to be a national program that we had through our schools. And I was a math mentor, and I was working at a local elementary school and working firsthand with young people, and they couldn't even read the instructions, you know, to even get to the math problems, right? Like the basic instruction. You remember when we were in school, right?
Right.
I had the instructions. Sometimes I had how long we were supposed to do it. And so in my mind, I was like, well, we're setting these kids up for failure. They can't even do the basics, right? And so just seeing some children pass through the pipeline. And so for me, you know, I used to love reading. I used to get the free Pizza Hut coupons for reading so many books.
Yes.
Pizza Hut used to be place. I know y'all remember the pan pizzas and them little red cups, right?
Right.
That we used to drink our drinks from. And I just wanted children to be able to experience that. And so I knew for me when I was growing up reading, I'm a poet by nature, but reading took me to this different world. And it took me kind of out of my reality. It took me to what I wanted to be, what I knew I could do, right? Reading about these powerful Black women that I wanted to be like. And so Books Breaking Borders was just to make sure that one, children have access to high quality reading materials, whether that be through electronic Kindles, right? We're reading electronically now, or hard copy books. Two, that we're able to make sure that everywhere has access to books. We're able to partner with architecture departments and build actual bookshelves. And then three, you know, that belonging is a thing. So students were actually able to decorate these bookshelves. We were able to host and hold family literacy nights, because a lot of times too, when a child is illiterate, a lot of times it's not just the child, right, in that household that's illiterate.
Exactly.
But there's with that. So we're able to create this environment where people feel comfortable and felt safe learning how to read together. And then also something that I love to do is build public speaking skills in students. So we also were able to host spelling bees and oratory nights for students to build confidence, right, when they're able to present themselves and speak with confidence. And so that's kind of what Books Breaking Borders does, right? Kind of helps to partner with the school system, to partner with community centers, to partner with nonprofits, just to make sure that those adequate supports are in the school or outside the school again. So our children, so our babies can at basic minimum learn how to read at or above grade level so that they can succeed, not just in school, but in life and beyond. Because we know life is a lot harder, right, when you're not able to have, again, just the basic level of reading comprehension. And so that is near and dear to my heart. It's a community action project. It will be part of my foundation that I'm officially going to be launching very soon. But I'm just excited. So yeah, we're over 10 years strong, and just I'm grateful. So shout out to, University of Maryland for helping, again, me to, be able to have, just the supports to actually build a project and see it through. And it's something, again, near and dear to my heart. Today, we're partnering some schools locally in DC, again, to support our children and our babies. And I think I'm even more excited because the schools we're partnering with now, are schools where students have learning differences and language differences. And so I think even more now than ever, especially with all that's happening in the country, making sure that those students and families have that support, right?
Absolutely.
Again, the American dream, right?
Yes. Yes. I love that. And thank you. One thing, I've learned about you just being on this episode, this segment here, is that you love the youth. And I love that you pour back into our youth. And this program that you have is very necessary, very much needed, because I'm sitting and I'm thinking, children who are illiterate,
right.
That causes them to have low self-esteem.
Right.
And when we have low self-esteem, then it causes us to be bullied in school.
Yeah,
and then we
problems.
Absolutely. All kinds of problems, So then they have those stories of how they had to reclaim their lives. So, you're preventing a lot through this program. So thank you so much.
Thank you
Kelsey.
to the families and children, that believe in it and trust it. And I'm excited to grow it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Kelsey, thank you so much for just stopping by. Look, with your absolutely busy schedule. Thank you for, taking the time to chat with me today. As you all have heard, this woman is amazing. I told y'all that in the beginning. She is absolutely amazing. Kelsey, if you would, let them know how they can connect with you.
Of course. So my website is KelseyNicoleNelson.com. Again, just KelseyNicoleNelson.com. I'm on social media, The Real K Nelson, and then Facebook and LinkedIn is Kelsey Nicole Nelson. Please feel free to reach out about any of my programs. Books Breaking Borders, it's just booksbreakingborders.com. We are looking to continue to partner and grow and work with some amazing sponsors. Again, just people who have the heart to give back. And then also please check out my show, listeninwithknn.com. We're about to announce our new summer intern cohort. So I get questions all the time from parents about students who want to work in journalism and media. So again, listeninwithknn.com to find more information about our 2 internship programs. Thank you again so much again for this wonderful platform. So good to see you. So good to speak with you and just be in community and fellowship with you today, Claudia. So
yes. Thank you, beautiful. Thank you. Look, y'all, we're going to make sure that we put all her information in our Facebook Live chat so that you all can connect. Look, y'all, and become a sponsor, and help the youth out. And let me leave you with this. Kelsey said, turn it around and make it O-N, because God is putting you on to something else. And remember, y'all, your no, count it all joy, because he knows the plans he has for you. And whatever you are going through, remember that you can reclaim your life. I love you all. Until next week, be blessed.
You have just heard Reclaiming My Life with life coach and author Claudia Massey. To get your copy of Amazon's #1 best-selling book, Reclaiming My Life, visit www.contactclaudiamassey.com. And tune in each Monday at 12 noon for Reclaiming My Life with television and radio host Claudia Massey on WBTK 1380.